Hello, 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 my stamping friends. It's Pam Jorgensen here at Stamping in My PJs, and I'm going to show you how to make this adorable pop-up card today. Oh my gosh, I love fun folds, and this one is so simple. You will absolutely love it. It does take a few little bits of cutting, but I think you will appreciate how easy it goes together. So let me get you the measurements, so hold on tight, and we're going to talk about where all these pieces came from. So let's do that first. I want to talk about this adorable, adorable caravan camper, old-fashioned camper that's in the front. So right now it is celebration through the end of August this month. And that little camper came out of this set right here. It's called the Tree Lot Dies. And oh my gosh, look at all those adorable, adorable stamp sets. Oh my gosh. There's all these little tree dies. There's lights. There's flags for your camper. There's a Christmas wreath, all kinds of really cute things. But what's really even better deal, so these are free when you place a $180 order here in Australia. But it coordinates with the Trees for Sale stamp set out of the mini catalog, which looks like this one. Okay, if you don't have one of these, let me know. So this one goes July to December of 2022. So these there's little puppy dogs. There's even dies to cut those out, all the little trees. So I'm going to use this today, but I am not using the stamps. So, but I did want you to see where that came from. So let me put that out of the way. The other thing that I will be using is I am using the Sending Smiles stamp set along with the Sending Dies. Now you're going to see me use these. I actually really like this because it has all these strip sentiments, which are really, really nice. And then in the dies, you actually have dies that will cut out. They look like this. I'm going to use this one. They actually cut out different sentiments in that set. So there's two of these, which are awesome. And I wanted to show you the little caravan dies. Look at these. How cute are these? So I just keep them in this dish. This is a magnetic dish so that I can use these in a little bit. So let's get started on what you will actually need to create today. If you're one of my stampers, all of these pieces will be in your kit, already cut and prepared for you. You just have to stamp and put together. So you will need a base that is 10.5 centimeters by 25 centimeters, and you are going to score that at 5 and 10 centimeters. And what will happen then is you will have a piece that looks just like this. Okay, so just like that Z fold. So you could even just fold it back on itself, but it's easier to actually score it. Okay, so you're going to have that first. Then, let's see, where should I go with that? You are going to have 2 layers. So these, you're going to cut a basic white layer. Let me take that off. You have basic white, which is 10 by 14.5 centimeters, and a piece of Designer Series paper that is 10 by 14.5 centimeters. Now, this is out of the mail pack that is in the annual catalog, and the name is... I will put it up in the notes because I have lost the name in my head. All right, you will need 1 piece of a coordinating color. So here I'm using Soft Succulent. And this is 8 centimeters by 9 centimeters. And I've scored it at 1, 5, and 8. And then on the back, I've gone ahead and added 2 pieces of tear tape. Well, actually, this will become the front, but 2 pieces of tear tape on those little 1 centimeter pieces. So I'm going to leave this one sitting here because I'm going to show you something after I get out all the pieces. So your second piece that you are going to need is this size. This is 8 by 6 centimeters, and you are going to score it at 1, 5, and 7. So you're not going to be able to see that very well in the camera because it's so light, but I'm going to set that one there. And finally, you're going to have this little tiny baby one. This is 4 by 7 centimeters. You're going to score that at 1, 5, and 6. So if you pay attention, if you've noticed, everything is scored with a 1 centimeter piece on the end and at that 5 centimeter mark, and it's only this last, you have to adjust that last number, but it's still 1 centimeter. And then what I've done is I've gone ahead and added the tear tape on the back as well. So when you look at these, if you notice, when you do it, all of them will have 2 scored sections on the right side and 1 on the left. And this middle piece is the same width on all 3 pieces. That becomes really important when we start to assemble it, especially because this big one, these 2 rectangles are very close in size. And this was a thing that hooked up a couple of my stamp clubbers here in person. So pay attention to that, and I'll talk about that again when we come back to that. All right, what else will you need? You will need a scrap of white. Whoops, I'll just go like that, a scrap of white. You will also need some coordinating colors. Now for this one, I've used Early Espresso. This piece is 4.5 by 10 centimeters, 3.5 by 7.5, 3.5 by 5.5, and then one little tiny one that is 3.5 by 3.5. So those are all of the coordinating pieces of cardstock that you will need. Then you will need some coordinating pieces of designer series paper. So once again, I've used the male designer series paper pack in the annual catalog, and I will put the name up. You have one that is 3 by 7 centimeters, one that is 3 by 5 centimeters, and a little baby one that is 3 by 3. So you can see that those all line up. So those are your designer series papers that you will need. Now let's talk about what else you will do with your projects. So all right, so these are your pieces of paper that you are going to need. Now, one of the things that I've gone ahead and done is I've used my Timber 3D embossing folder, and I've gone ahead and just embossed that piece so it was already done for us. You can use whatever embossing folder that you'd like. So then you will need some scraps. So you will need a scrap of Sahara sand and a scrap of Very Vanilla. I've gone ahead and used a scrap of Cajun Craze. And what that is for, that is to cut, we're going to cut out Sahara sand and a Very Vanilla Caravan. You're going to keep all those little pieces, so it will cut out some bits. It'll cut out a square and a circle, so you want to keep those. And then your whoops, there's a piece right there. Your Cajun Craze, we're going to cut out the little decorations for our caravan. So you'll need some scraps of those They don't have to be a certain size at all, just as long as they fit. Then you will need a scrap of soft succulent. And then this is evening evergreen. I chose those two for my trees that I'm going to cut. And then a scrap of early espresso and Cajun craze for my words. Okay, so let's get started. So as we work today, I've gone ahead and used the sending dies, and I have pre-cut out these two little components. But I wanted to keep them because I want to show you a little tip. I love how these dies layer together. So let me take that one out. And this is the shadow piece. So the thing we're going to do first is we're going to get all these bits and pieces ready because it'll make our assembly of our project easier. Now, when I punch out this sanding, this is the little tiny sentiment. And you can see right here that there's the little top of the eye is missing. And I'm hoping that it's still in my die because that's what works best. So yep, he's still up there. The little sticky is still right there. So what I have done with this is I have taken my early espresso cardstock and added adhesive sheet onto the back of it, and that makes a sticker. So when I ran it through the embossing machine and it cuts it out, then this is actually like a sticker. So when I pull that out, let's go ahead and do that really quick. I'm going to show you this little trick that I've learned. Now, one thing that I have learned and that I have told my stampers is that these little bits that are coming out are really, really, really sticky. So if you get them on your carpet, they do make a mess. So I recommend you're very careful at how you, whoops, I must not have cut that very well, at how you dispose of all these little bits that are stuck in your sentiment. Okay, let me get these parts punched out. And hopefully that will peel out, I'm hoping. Okay, so what I do is I just peel that apart. Sometimes easier said than done, but it does come apart, that white back, there it is. So I'm just gonna pull that white backing away. Now there's a couple things that you can do. You can peel it all, or you can fiddle with it and put a little bit down at a time. I'm going to peel it all, only because I think for me that's the easiest way to do it. But you do have to be careful not to get it tangled up. Now, I gotta figure out why that's sticking in there. There we go, he came out. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so see how sticky that little bit is? So I'm going to start with my S. And if you find that you're having problems with it sticking to everything, use your pick tool to hold on to it. Now, I'm going to stick that down into my S. Whoops, let me pull that off. So I haven't really pushed down on it yet. It's just kind of setting there. Oh my goodness. Having all kinds of issues today, girls. Okay, put that down in there. And I'm just going to pull that over. And then as I bring that across, I'm just going to tap that into place where I think I want that to go. And it should just kind of follow once you get it started. Whoops. There we go. Once you're happy with that, give that a little bit of a tap or turn it over and give that a little bit of a pat. Now we're going to come back to that top of that little tiny eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pick tool and I'm going to carefully remove the backing off that adhesive sheet. So that eye is going to be a sticky little dot, I guess. I'm going to lay it down onto my, actually I'll bring it up so you can see it. I'm going to lay it down onto my sentiment. And I'm going to line up that outline of the eye. And you can kind of feel when the sending pops into the back of your die. And I'm just going to give that a little bit of a push through that little hole. And that top, yep, there he is. See how he sticks in there just like that. So there's your little trick. It's a little fiddly, but it works a treat. Then I'm just going to turn that over and give that a push. All right, so we have our eye done, or a sentiment. So let me show you what else we have done. We're going to get all these parts and pieces done first. So the next thing that I have done is I have die cut already some of these trees. So I've die cut out the base, which is solid. So the base will look like this, right? It's the open one. And then I've gone ahead and ran the small filigree ones through my die cutting machine. And once again, I put adhesive sheets on the back of these filigree ones because when I go to put those down, it will make it a sticker and I don't have to worry about trying to put glue on. If you don't know how to use the adhesive sheets, let me know and I will do a short video on that. You can either use your pick tool. If you're smart, you would use your pick tool. There we go. And as you pull back that adhesive sheet, it will typically pull out, and it's going to prove me wrong. So it typically pulls out all those little extra bits. Now, if it doesn't, one thing that you can do, let me grab a sheet of dimensionals. Let's see if I have some sitting over here. Of course, this is a brand new one. There's no empty hole space. Oh my gosh, that never happens. Here's a bigger one. So I'm just going to set that down onto my adhesive sheet. You could also use your craft silicone sheet if you have one of those. And I'm just going to push out those little bits. Typically, most of them will pull out when you pull off that adhesive sheet, but for whatever reason, this one didn't. Okay, I have gotten most of those little extra bits pulled out of my tree, and then all you do is lay that down like that on top and just push it down into place, and there's your decorations for your tree, just like that. Now I've already done 4 or 3, so now I have 4 total. I have a big, 2 mediums, and a small, but you could do whatever you liked. So let's keep working on our bits that we need to get done. Okay, here we go. So I have gone ahead and pre-cut out, remember I said I pre-cut out, these are your decorations for your caravan, so let's pop those 2 out and get this out of the way. Then you will have the little tiny curtains. So that is the die. It's really, really small. And I have cut that out of Early Espresso. And I have put adhesive sheet on the back. So I'm just going to leave that sitting there. And then I have cut a Very Vanilla and a Sahara Sand entire caravan. And you will want to save these pieces, and somehow between moving to my camera I have lost the vanilla one, but that will be okay because we can use the Sahara Sand one that's sitting there, or you can use vanilla, whichever one you like. Then you will also want to have handy a little scrap of vanilla cardstock that you can cut. So let's see how we put this together. So I don't want to lose this little curtain, so let's just move that out of the way for a minute. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to add my decorations to my caravan. I'm going to use a little bit of my liquid glue both on the top, and there are guide marks so you can see where your glue needs to go on your caravan. Just like that. So put the top on first. And you could make this in absolutely any color. So funny because I really didn't think I needed this caravan, and oh my gosh, it is so cute. So let's put this one on, and everything will just line up so slick for you. And because we're using the liquid glue, you can slide it into place. Now, you could do this first, but I'm going to snip off that hitch. We don't want that. And I'm going to cut off the wheel. Don't fear, we will have a wheel. We're just not having that wheel. Okay, so don't lose these little pieces. We're going to set those up there for a minute. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come to this, and I'm going to take some of my liquid glue, and I'm just going to dot it around there. I'm going to glue some vanilla cardstock on the back, but I want it to be sandwiched between these two caravans because you have the potential, because of our card, for it to show. So I'm going to take this little hunk, and we'll have a little bit of a measure, just an eyeball. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just needs to cover without hanging over, right? Because we don't want it to show on the other side, hanging out. There we go. And then I will cut a little tiny chunk for the porthole. And that will go just like that. So while that dries, we're going to do something else. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to come back to my first caravan. So this is your very vanilla one. I am going to grab my black blend. So I'm using black dark. If you don't have a blend, you could even use a black marker. So I'm going to use the bullet point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to color that hitch just to give it more of a realistic look, I guess, if you want to say. All right. And then, let me have a look at it. Yep, that's good. Then I'm going to color my wheel. So if you look at that wheel, you can see that it's quite difficult to color just the tire because it's actually quite small. So this is a little trick for you. I'm just going to take my black marker and just color the entire half circle. I'll hold that up for you to see it. Whoops, I missed a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to color that. And then, instead of trying to get that little half circle perfect, you can then take a drop of glue, and I'm putting it right down in the middle where that tire mark is. And you would be able to see that if you were doing it in person. It's a little bit hard on the camera, but there's a wheel right inside of that. I don't know if you can see that. And you could take a very vanilla or your Sahara sand. I'm going to use Sahara because I've lost my vanilla. But that's okay. It'll still look really cute. And I'm going to place that down. Whoops, where's my pick tool? Place that down where the center of the tire would go. Look at how cute that will be. Okay, and then what you need to do is you need to glue this whole caravan together. So I'm going to put some glue on the body of this caravan and squeeze these two together. Just lining those up. Oops. There we go. Look at how cute is that going to be. There we go. And then we can add our curtain. So there's the adhesive sheet. We can pick that off. Maybe. It's kind of cold out in my studio today. I'm not turning on the heat because I'm actually leaving here shortly, so I don't want to heat up this big studio. So I've peeled the curtain off my adhesive sheet, and I'm going to stick it right down inside my caravan window. And how cute is that? There we go. So we have another piece done and dusted. Now, when you added your glue, if you glued the back of your brown, like I just did, go ahead and take your missing or your little window and stick it in that hole, and you could stick your opposite vanilla one or your brown one in that hole if you had glue in there. All right, so let's get to the card base now that we've done we've done all the hard work. So we have 3 of those layers. We're going to quickly glue those together. Okay, so we have those 3 bits done. And we also have these 3 pieces. So remember I said, so here's your adhesive. So your adhesive is now going to be the front of your project. And what I said earlier was all 3 of them will have the same width. And then they'll have 2 pieces that are scored on the right. So if you use that as a guide, this is where we're going to put all of our pieces, just like that. Whoops. And if you have directional designer series paper, it needs to go up and down. So take a moment and glue those down. Okay, so you have those 3. While that is drying, I'm going to set those to the side, and I'm going to come in and stamp my sentiment. Now with these sentiments, because this is a photopolymer stamp, let me grab my glue. One of the things that I have learned is when you ink it up, of course, use your mat. Now this, I'm on actually a soft ink mat. This is not paper, it's actually a mat. So when you ink it up, you want to ink it, tap it down and hold it and count in your head to like 10, okay? And that allows the ink to absorb into the cardstock. If you inked it up and you pushed it like what we're used to, it kind of makes the letters smush and bleed a little bit, which is fine if that's what you're looking for, but that's not what I want on this one. So just a little trick, and then you can take your die, and we're going to go die cut that like that, and I will be right back. Okay, here we go. So I have my sentiment. I forgot to do that, so we'll put that out of the way as well. And let's get busy. So here's our card base, and I'm going to go ahead and fold that like our Z fold, right? And I'm going to burnish that because I want that to have a nice crisp fold. You could even go back and forth if you wanted, it doesn't really matter. Now I'm going to take my, my designer series paper, and I'm going to adhere that on the inside. So go ahead and take a moment and do that. Okay, so I have that on the inside. Depending on how you want to design the back of your card, we're going to do that as well. But while we're on the front, I'm going to take that piece of embossed cardstock. You can decide which side you want up. I don't think it really matters. It's all a personal preference if you like it embossed or debossed. And I'm going to glue that down on the front. I like to get some of these extra layers just out of the way, and they need to be done anyway. So we're going to get those done. And then on the back, I'm just going to, I'm not going to stamp a sentiment on this one. I'm just going to take a strip. This was a strip of Designer Series paper that I had left over. And I'm going to just stick that down on the bottom. And I left just enough of a handle to cut that off. And then I'm going to take one of those trees. So I cut 2 of the middle-sized tree, and I'm just going to stick a dimensional on the back of that and pop that up like that. And then I'm going to flip my card over and glue this on the back. Okay, so now we have the back of our card, and we're starting with the front. So with these pieces, what you want to do is go ahead and fold those on all of your score marks. They should look like that. So here's the picture, okay? Here's your Designer Series paper right on the front. So there's your second layer. And here's your third layer right here. Okay, so you have 3 layers just like that. We're going to start first with this big one. You will need a pencil for this. And what you're going to do is you are going to take this big one. Now remember that this is the biggest piece, the biggest rectangle. And you have to keep that in mind, that your biggest one is going to go against the fold of your project. So what we're going to do is we're going to tuck all of these extra bits behind it so we can measure. I'm going to lay this inside of my card base, centering it between the top and the bottom the best I can. And I want to make sure that this does not cross over that score mark. That's very important. You want to keep it fairly straight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a pencil mark at the top. So right here at the top, at the bottom, and then one in the middle. Okay, so I have a pencil mark at the top, the bottom, and the middle. Okay, I'm going to come off out here. I'm going to remove my adhesive cover on the right side. And I am going to tip that back. So there's my adhesive. I'm going to push that back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up that adhesive with those 3 marks. Now, if you may, I made them darker so that you could see. So I'm going to erase that before I push that down. Only I'm not worried about the middle one because the middle one is going to be hidden. But I don't want these 2 bottom ones to show. Whoops. So when you do it, you want to do it quite light. Okay, so once it's down and you think it's straight, you're going to give that a burnish with your finger. Then what you're going to do is you are going to remove this other piece of adhesive sheet. And this time we're going to fold it. Now I have the piece of Designer Series paper face up. I have my adhesive cover removed. Here's my front of my card. And I am just going to shut the door, okay? Or you can go like that, whatever's easier for you. And when it's done, up pops your little insert for your card. Look at that. How cool is that? So to do the second one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to tuck all those bits and pieces out of the way. We're going to line that up with your edge of that square panel that you've just put in. Centering it, you're going to use your pencil again. Now this time I'm going to do a little bit lighter. So I'm doing the top, the bottom, and the center, right? Top, bottom, center. I'm going to come in and remove my tape cover. I'm going to fold that back, and I'm going to line that up with those 3 marks I made. So there's the bottom, the middle, and the top. And I'm going to make sure that that's fairly straight. Give that a push. I'm going to come over here, remove this other cover. So if you're wondering what it looks like, this is what it looks like on the inside. So all you will have is that little 1 centimeter piece taped down. So I'm going to pull it back. So I only have that piece that has the panel with the designer series paper and my tape showing. I'm going to push that down, give it a burnish, and when it comes up, there's your second panel. How easy, right? So we're going to do the same thing with the third. We're going to tuck all those little pieces back. I'm going to center that where I want that to go. Make sure it's nice and straight. Mark it at the top, the middle, and the bottom. Remove my adhesive cover. I'm going to line that up with those 3 marks. Give that a push. Remove that second adhesive cover. Fold that back so only the designer series paper panel and your sticky bit is showing. And I'm going to push that down. And just like that, we now have those 3 stair-step panels. How easy is that? So I'm going to give you a couple tips and tricks on decorating. So let's bring in all of our bits. So I have 3 trees, I have sending, I have our sentiment. This one I'm going to do a note of thanks. And then I have our caravan. So you just want to kind of figure out where you want things to land on your project. So probably the girls came up with this idea to put your sending down first, because I'd actually done it a little bit different, but that was a great idea. So I'm going to copy it. I found that if I put a dimensional behind my S, a big dimensional, and a small dimensional at the top of my S, that's all that's going to hold on my sentiment. Okay, let me get that off. There we go. So I want that sentiment to come out fairly close, and I'm going to place it so that my S, I don't have a lot of extra stuff showing underneath my S. So let's go about right there. And I'm just going to pop that down, and then there's my sending. Now let's figure out where I want my trees to go. I think we'll do one like that, maybe the medium one. Let's see what that looks like. So knowing that you can have things hanging off on the inside of your project. So on this one, you could have things hanging off the right side of the card, but you don't want anything hanging off this left side. Otherwise, it's not going to fit in your envelope. So let's come down a little bit. I think we'll go like that. Let's see what Mr. Caravan looks. Oh, that would be cute. Okay, so I'm going to glue these down flat because I want to pop up that little caravan. So I'll put one tree here. And I will put another tree. Now I'm not going to put adhesive on that right side because I think I'm going to have that tree hang over a little bit. And I don't want that to stick down onto my sentiment or anywhere. And then we will pop up our caravan, I think, because we can. So the same thing, you want to make sure that your caravan pieces are not, where you add your dimensionals, that it's not sticking over onto, doesn't hang over that edge. There we go. And then depending on what sentiment you use, you may need to actually stamp further to the right and trim that off. But I think for this one, it will just stick right in there. So I think we're going to do that. Sending a note of thanks. So I know I need glue only on about that much. Just like that. Make sure it's nice and straight. Let's have a look. Yep. Okay. And then I think I'm just going to add another little tree coming out. So I'm going to open up my project and just add a drop of glue on this little corner. And just pop that other tree. Let's see what that looks like. Whoops. Come on, little tree. Just like that. Yep. So let that sit there for a second. And to finish that off then, I am going to grab just some clear gems, an espresso marker or blend, and let's just quickly cover some elements and add those to our project. Because it's a man's card, I'm not sure that we need a whole lot of bling, but a little bling is always a little fun, right? And because it's got that brown tone, it just blends in. It just adds just a little bit of fun. Where else should we put a couple? We might put a couple up here. Let's have a look. Whoops, I should use my other end of my pick tool. We'll put one up there by the tree. And we might add another one over there by the tree. Oh, do I want to go like, I'll go like that. Sending a note of thanks. Cute. Cute, cute. So that is how easy it is to do that particular card. Now I do want to show you one other card. So stamp clubbers, you will be making this one as well. You will just substitute for your own flowers. But look at this one, sending smiles across the miles. How cute is that? And then on the back, we just did that. So if you're an at-home clubber, you can substitute with whatever flowers you have. And I will send you the sending, and then you can just stamp on your strips, okay? All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed seeing that card. I know there was a little bit of work. It's a little bit of effort to get all the pieces cut, but once you do, it is so much fun. Enjoy, reach out if you have questions, and I hope you guys have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.